welcome to Getting Your Money's Worth, the show that focuses on value. I'm Judith West, and our guest today is Dr. Evelyn Higgins, author of The Mystery of Happiness. Hi, Evelyn. How are you? Thanks for being on the show. Okay, I think happiness is a mystery, that's for sure. But before we go to this mystery of happiness, I have in my mind something else I had read about you, where you wrote of the wisdom of age.
Correct.
Right, and that really impressed me. You take wisdom and apply it to how it improves with aging. Tell us a little bit about that theory.
Well, if we were to try to define wisdom, it would be very difficult because it encompasses a lot of different characteristics, being experience, being discretion, knowing when and when not to apply yourself towards something for further movement, and all that coming together comes with wisdom. And what we've learned very recently in the brain from research that just came out of Harvard at the end of May was that the prefrontal cortex of the brain actually decreases its activity. It slows down. And that slowing down of the brain is what allows the brain to, if you will, go through all this data. Whereas a very young brain just says like this. A young brain wants to take a multiple choice test.
Also, Evelyn, isn't the brain kind of as you get older too? It's like kind of like a computer. You get so much information in it, and you know the computer. When you have so many files in it, it tends to freeze a little bit till it accesses what you need.
Right.
I mean, I think that what you're describing that brain is kind of like that.
Exactly. There's so much data in this computer that we call a brain that when you go to access that information, it takes a minute because it's going through all the files.
Yeah.
Whereas when you have a younger brain, it's not all in there.
Yeah.
The facts are in there.
Yeah.
And that's why phone numbers are very easy to recall, or names are very easy to recall, because it's just the facts. Whereas the older brain that encompasses wisdom is much more than facts.
So, but when it's accessed, there's a whole nother dimension that the information,
absolutely,
or the facts, as you call them, get.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that in our society we have come to disrespect the lag time almost.
Thank you.
Before the brain kicks in.
Right. I mean, I call it an honesty inventory.
An honesty
inventory. On my show, that's what I'll say. It's time for the honesty inventory.
Right.
What do we do in our country to the elderly, to the older population?
You know, I used to work with an older guy, and everyone thought he was hard of hearing, because whenever anyone asked him a question or said something, he would say, "Excuse me, could you repeat that?" And I was having lunch with him one day, and I said, there's not anything wrong with your hearing. He says, "Oh, I know, it's fine." I said, "Well," he says, "listen, my brain needs a little bit longer to get the question." And he says, "and I want to think for a minute about the answer."
Perfect.
And he said, "So I say repeat the question, and I'm thinking about it as I'm hearing it for the second time." And I thought that was a wonderful, was a wonderful device.
His delay switch.
Right.
Let me hear that again.
But this business of wisdom as you age and a respect for that, it also gives us a very good segue into this mystery of happiness. Mm-hmm. Almost like the brain is a bit of a mystery, so is happiness. How do you demystify happiness?
To me, I believe it starts with gratitude.
Gratitude. Gratitude for what? Living?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. From the unfortunate experiences we've had in our life to the most wonderful experiences we've had in our life. Learning how to put all of that together, and it's a skill. It's a skill you have to be taught.
Is that a learned skill? How do you?
It's learned.
Who teaches you the skill?
Well, I'll teach it.
How do you teach it?
In my book, it goes step by step to where I have you every day journal. I ask a question and then ask you to, within yourself, answer that and take you through 30 days of doing that. And what it does is changes the way you think. And changes every day.
So do you start out by saying, write down something that you're grateful for today?
Exactly.
Is it that simple?
Exactly. It is that simple. And then we get more complex, like I'll say on one day, before you journal tomorrow, before your day begins, I want you to think tonight about 5 people that you're going to thank for the simplest of things that you have never said thank you to before. Whether it's the gentleman on the corner who sells you your water, and really mean it. And the response that you will get from that person is unbelievable.
Right.
And that's what changes your life.
Right.
And you feel great. And it's just the little things like that.
I read a little story about saying thank you to whomever all the time. It was this young boy many years ago that went to buy an ice cream sundae, and he was at a soda fountain, an old-fashioned soda fountain, and he asked the waitress, how much is an ice cream sundae? And with irritation, she said, 50 cents. He's counting his money. And he says, well, how much a plain dish of ice cream? She says, 35 cents. She's very irritated again. He says, okay, give me one. And she gets in the plain dish of ice cream. And when this young leaves, she goes back to the counter, and there are 2 nickels and 5 pennies. And she realized he had enough money to buy the ice cream sundae, but he thought enough to deprive himself of it and leave her a tip to say thank you.
How nice.
How nice.
How nice.
This is young, right.
And imagine if we all lived our lives like that. What we could do.
So being grateful or showing gratitude can make you happy?
Absolutely.
Isn't there more to it than that,
That's
Evelyn?
definitely the beginning step. And you start there, and just your life will change. I would guarantee your life will change with taking each day and say, how did I behave before? You're going to become a new person. And everything every day isn't great.
It's a big shift in mindset.
Absolutely. It is mindset. And that's the part that we can control. We can't control all the events in our life, but what we can control is our mindset.
How did you arrive at this concept?
Oh, life experience, the goods and the bads, and you want to keep on going, and you want to.
Did you decide that you're going to change yourself and you're going to be happy?
I think it was just kind of, someone said to me, how long did it take you to write the book? I said a lifetime and 2 weeks to put on paper.
And 2 weeks to put on paper.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good answer. Right. Is there such a thing, Evelyn, as people being born with the chemistry to be happy, and others with a chemistry to be unhappy?
Definitely, the research tells us that there is a difference in the brain, and people can be more prone towards being a happier person versus people can be more prone to the doom and gloom of life every day.
Right.
But we have the ability to change that. And that's what I want people to realize. It doesn't have to be, this is the way I was born, and that's all there is in this life for me. You can change that.
Right. And for folks who wind up living in a household with with unhappy people, unhappy parents, or an unhappy spouse, or in an unhappy work environment, can they control their own destiny within that environment?
That's all they can do. If they're in an
about all they
environment
can do. That's
that's
right.
that negative, that's
Right.
really what they can do. And then what I suggest is you try to get people in your world, whether it be your work site or your family or your friends, to suggest to them, why don't you try doing this? What the world that you can create for yourself can be amazing.
So you have a very varied background. You have written about the wisdom of aging. You've written on the mystery of happiness, and you also have a radio show where you talk about well-being and health. How does all this fit together?
Well, actually, the hard data research shows that living a grateful life lets you live healthier and longer.
Right.
And that is one of the major components of how you can change excuse me, someone's health, aside from just surgery, medications, but teaching them this skill.
You know, we had a guest on this show who is director of an aging program.
Okay.
And his sample group is all centenarians, all 100-year-olds. And in order to qualify for this poll, you had to be 95 and living independently.
Wow.
Wow is right. And I said to him, what is the single characteristic of these 100-year-olds that you study? And it was not holding a grudge. So it kind of letting
Right,
go,
right.
letting go, and getting on. It sort of substantiates your
Right.
theory. But according to all the research that has been done, we find out that we Americans are a bunch of unhappy people.
Absolutely.
Happiness is not up there high on the survey.
Because what do we focus on? Material. That's what we constantly focus on in America, is material wealth. And that money does not bring you happiness.
Money doesn't bring you happiness.
It can make life a little easier. It will never bring you happiness.
It's hard to get people to believe that. Right. It's hard to get people to believe that money doesn't bring you happiness.
There's a lot of very unhappy people that are wealthy.
Right, exactly, right. The other thing is that we are bombarded all the time in the media with bad news.
True.
Right.
True. Turn on your local news station for the 6 o'clock news and whoa.
Or whatever. I'm happy to say that this show, Getting Your Money's Worth, is also on Good News Broadcast's website.
Oh, okay.
Because there was a I have made a conscious decision that I'm going to talk about things that are good about this country.
That's what we need
Right.
more of.
And
What's
you know,
good?
How do you get down to how do you instill this? How do you teach this in a kid?
In the same way.
I mean, hard knocks and failures, adult kind of relates to it. But how would you do it with a kid?
Okay, a kid
Evelyn?
comes home from school, say they're even in kindergarten, and life stinks kind of attitude. Let's sit down and talk about what happened today. And you find the things that were good in what they talk about. Or if they're saying everything was negative, it wasn't that way all day. Tell me something that was good. And you're now teaching them that skill of being able to pull out even one thing that was good in their day, otherwise that you would have sat there and commiserated with, and you're right. That's a terrible school. You have no friends. And I mean, that kid has nowhere to go. The younger you can teach it, the better off. Imagine if you had that as your upbringing of an attitude of gratitude, and that's how you lived your life. Even to the success point of realizing that life is good.
Unfortunately, many of us get grateful for having parents and having had a good life much older in life.
Right.
You know,
Wisdom again.
The wisdom again. It's hard to convince a kid as he's going through some tough years in school that he should be grateful, that he should be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
It would also be hard to tell someone it's actually you'll find good things in a very, very tough event they just went through in their life. But it's going to make them who they are at another point, and they'll realize that.
It's kind of like if you get lemons, make lemonade.
Right.
Does all your work and research show that there's a direct connection between being happy and being well physically?
Yes. There's a direct link between health and wellness and being a happy person and
What's
grateful
the difference
person.
in health and wellness?
Less illness, for one. The immune system decreases when
Wellness
someone...
is getting less sick.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Absence of disease.
Absence of disease. The immune system decreases with unhappiness?
Correct.
Really?
Correct. You can build a stronger immune system by all of these things that you can apply to yourself. Why
Interesting.
wouldn't you do that?
Why wouldn't you do it?
Right.
It's almost like performing therapy on yourself.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I liked very much. I have to say, I've always thought that happiness is a mystery, and I liked looking through this. And I was very intrigued by the way you used the wisdom piece of it. I'm going to remember that as I want to discount something that
Right.
somebody says to me. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Judith. My pleasure.
I'm Judith West, bringing you value for your money. Watch my website, gettingyourmoneysworth.nyc.com, for more value. Thank you for watching.